Ladies and gentlemen, from the middle of nowhere, it's Kyle and Dan. You should have known I was going to do that. After
I did. Yeah. I just watched the trailer for the new Being the Ricardos, the Aaron Sorkin written and directed Lucille Ball biopic, and Kyle heard the end of the thing and picked up on it. So. By the way, J.K. Simmons as Fred is perfect casting. But then again, J.K. Simmons as anybody is perfect casting.
Who's playing Ethel?
I didn't recognize the name.
Okay.
But I can look it up real quick.
No, I have a thought on who should play Ethel.
Who should play Ethel?
Betty Gilpin.
Betty Gilpin.
From Glow.
Yeah, that could work.
Blonde. Yeah. I think she has that kind of girl next door neighbor, but a little smarter than she looks, kind of, you know.
Nina Arinda is playing Vivian Vance.
Never heard of her.
Let's see. What is she?
Oh, of course. Javier Bardem as Desi Arnaz is great.
Yes. And Nicole Kidman as
Lucy will be great. Yes.
Yeah.
Clark Gregg is just in it as hopefully as Clark Gregg.
Yeah.
Alia Shawkat is Madeline Pugh, which I like.
Nina Aranda has been in Billions, Goliath, Hannibal.
A bunch of stuff I've not seen.
Yeah. The Good Wife, Stan and Ollie.
Nope. I saw. You know what? I saw Florence Foster Jenkins. She was in that.
Yes, yeah, as Agnes Stark, yeah.
And I saw Richard Jewell. She was in that, but I don't remember her, which is saying, you know,
yeah,
she was in 30 Rock.
Yep,
for one episode probably, but
yeah, Clark Gregg doesn't get. Robert Pine is in it.
Hello,
Chris Pine's dad. Used to be on Chips,
yeah.
Gutierrez on Chips.
Yeah.
Ronnie Cox, Tony Hale. This is Joe Rubenstein. Wow.
Man,
this is a really good
lot of
cast.
people are lining up to be in this movie.
Well, you don't pass up working with Aaron Sorkin.
And telling a story that's as interesting as that of the Arnazes.
Linda Lavin. Wow. I didn't know Linda Lavin was still around.
No, I mean, because you talk about Lucy and Desi and the things that they went through and the times that they went through them. Yeah. The story is incredibly interesting. And then when you get into her involvement in the Red Scare,
yeah,
which she totally got run up the river on, let's be real. Very interesting story to be told here. And yeah, I can see why a lot of these people would want to. Hey, my buddy Nelson's in it. Nelson Franklin.
Yes.
I know him.
Doesn't say what he's going to be, though.
Well, probably just dude number 7, because that seems to be his role in life. But I
wonder if there'll be any reference to Star Trek and how she's supposed to have saved it.
And, and that could be a lot of it. There's so many stories here that Lucy herself and Desi and Desi Arnaz Jr. and that whole thing was involved in. So there's a ton here that we can really dive into.
Yeah. I love that Robert Pine's in it.
Yeah. Well, and there's
worked with this kid.
I don't know. But like Robert Pine, how old is Robert Pine?
He was born in 42, so he's going to be coming up to 80.
So he wouldn't have been quite old enough to have worked directly with Lucy or Desi. Same with Linda Lavin.
Right.
But they definitely worked with Desi Arnaz Jr. and probably at their studios at Desilu.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's entirely possible that these people are there, like in this movie, like being consultants with, hey, reality.
Oh, this is interesting. Jake Lacey is playing Bob Carroll Jr. Ronnie Cox is playing older Bob Carroll.
Right. Let me look at this here. Oh, Jake Lacey is Plop from The Office. Okay, Ronnie Cox is the head honcho from Beverly Hills Cop. Okay, it took me a minute.
And the head honcho from RoboCop and the
Yeah.
president from Captain America.
Yeah.
Yes, I evoked the Captain America movie.
Well, I mean, it's Clark Gregg, man. Clark Gregg is so something that we can talk about sometime in a different show, probably on your show and not this show, is the Mighty Sorkin players.
Yes.
And how many of them are in this film, including Clark Gregg, who, if you don't know, was the original. Was he Kevin Bacon on Broadway?
Oh.
From
A Few Good Men? A Few Good Men. I don't remember, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of these guys who, James Duffy, Michael Epstein.
When Aaron Sorkin decided to do To Kill a Mockingbird on stage, he went and got Jeff Daniels, who was with him for Newsroom.
Right, but Jeff Daniels is not a Mighty Sorkin player.
No,
there are a bunch of guys and girls, actors and actresses who are side characters and one-offs in every Sorkin show.
Yeah, like Josh Molina is getting
there. Ron Ostro is in this movie as Man. Ron Ostro was Will in Sports Night. He was an MP in the movie A Few Good Men. He was a reporter named John in The West Wing. He's been in everything Sorkin has done on television. He was in one episode of Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. Like
much underrated show.
Mm-hmm. He was in one episode of The Newsroom. It's so he is a Mighty Sorkin player.
I see. Yeah.
So
it's kind of like Christopher Nolan. He's got his people too.
Yep.
It's like the other day I heard that Michael Caine was retiring. Well, he's not retiring. He just hasn't been offered any parts because of the pandemic. But as soon as there's another Christopher Nolan movie, Michael Caine's out of retirement.
Michael Caine. Yeah.
Do you know Michael Caine's not his real name?
I did, because I listened to your show earlier.
Okay.
I didn't know it before your show earlier.
I didn't know it until I saw that trivia thing.
Right.
Maurice Micklewhite.
Michael Caine's a better name.
It absolutely is.
Although some people could call him Maurice, because he speaks of the pompatus of love.
You had to do that, huh?
Well, did you expect anything less?
I had hoped.
Stop doing that.
I know. Just leads to disappointment. So.
All right, should we get into the books?
I don't know why.
It's fair. It's super fair. But something I want to bring up, guys, there was a big problem with shipping for Image Comics this week. So I want to lead off by talking about this thing. If your local comic book store does not have things like Gunslinger Spawn, Nita Hawes Nightmare Blog, some of these other some of the other big exciting titles that are coming from Image this week, just know that there was a shipping issue, and they've asked people to hold books if they can. If they can't, whatever, they can sell them, but they've asked people to hold until every store has their gunslinger spawns. That was the big delay, is there was a batch of gunslinger spawns that got destroyed, and replacements are on their way, and just a week behind. So just know if you see that, that's what's up.
Yep. Either that or your retailer just hates you.
Well, that could happen too.
Yeah.
So stick to the rule of don't be a dick and you'll be fine.
That's right. If you go in and you're complaining about continuity all the time, you may be that person they hate.
Joel, I'm guessing that on things like Nita Haas, most people have them out. They'll just hold the gunslinger spawn for a week. But it also happened to Hellcop.
Ooh, Haberlin's book, yeah.
Speaking of, that's supposed to be on my list.
It wasn't on the listing.
Sure, well, unless it is this week. But it was part of that problem they had. So it may have been officially pushed. That's what I'm looking for right now.
Okay.
It has been officially pushed to next week. Okay. That was what I was checking, because originally it was solicited for this week. That's why Brian was on Monday with Miss Jen. But that solicitation has been pushed to next week. So we are good.
Okay.
All right. I don't know what I was waiting for, what reset I was thinking would happen there. But we'll see. Joel Eden. It's good to see you, buddy. All right. Let's start.
So you didn't like Venom, huh? It's not an episode, it's a movie.
The quote I gave to Jen King, and I will say this again, is that going to the movies is better. Like, I would rather spend an afternoon at a bad movie than, say, have my fingernails slowly torn off while also getting a root canal. But given the choice between that and seeing Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, I would have to think about it. I actively asked for my money back.
Really?
Yes. The movie theater, having said, you saw the whole movie, here's 10% off a future popcorn purchase. And I went, sold. It was that bad. And the manager of the movie theater at this point recognizes me because I come in almost every Sunday afternoon. You know, I go in
every Sunday evening.
No. Like, I saw Free Guy there 3 times.
Okay.
You know, that's how I decompress. Like, so for the experience, I get Sunday until 3 or 4 in the afternoon off. And then I get Mondays. Those are my days off for the experience. So most Sundays I get done at my Sunday morning job and I go to the movies. It's a great way to decompress and clear your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Except if you see Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. In which case, your whole week is already ruined.
I did not like the movie as much as I liked the first one.
I didn't like the first one, and it deserves an Oscar compared to the second one.
But I don't hate the second one like you do. I mean, I don't regret the fact I went to the theater to see it.
I think there were 3 good jokes in the whole movie.
Okay.
And maybe 1 good special effects scene.
Okay, it's not a comedy, so.
Right, but I'm saying those were the good parts of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Everything else was awful. The Dan jokes, like especially the last Dan joke. Mm-hmm. Bye, Dan. I thought he was great. I thought maybe it was more of a hindrance than anything, but you know, he's great. You know, at the very end.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. The scene where Carnage breaks Shriek out of prison was a great special effects scene. That was super fun. And there were a couple of other jokes, like when the bodega owner is Venom. Yeah. That was funny. You know, but like other than that, the movie was just nothing.
I think it needed some help.
It could have been Oreo cookies, but instead it chose to be Hydrox. And not even like name brand Hydrox, dollar store discount Hydrox that are a little past their expiration date, so they're like a little chewy and not very tasty.
I will admit that there's one scene that I absolutely cringed at, which was the rave scene.
Yes.
And that is where the film had the digital projector had to be rebooted and restarted, and they showed us the rave scene a second time when they fired it up. So I actually got the cringy scene twice when I went to see it.
Symbiote out.
Yeah.
Screw you. I didn't even like the post-credit scene.
Really?
Because now it means I got to see Spider-Man.
You know, hey, Jenna, you don't have to see any movie.
No,
you don't come on and review movies. You don't talk about movies. You don't have to see anything.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
No, the post-credit scene was a slight redemption for the whole of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there were two things that I would call redemptions for the movie. The first one is the post-credit scene, because it does show that perhaps something was left on the vine in this movie to set up that movie. Like, it leaves you with the potential of saying, okay, maybe they wanted to do more, but they had to get to a certain point so that Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man make sense.
Well, it's only a 90-minute movie, 97 minutes with credits. So I have a feeling the DVD or the Blu-ray is going to have like an hour and 30 of deleted scenes.
That's what I'm saying. It's entirely possible that stuff was cut to get there.
Yeah.
Now, the other redeeming part of this movie is that it left some openings to visit the Donny Cates Ryan Stegman run. With the whole idea, and again, this was in the post-credit scene of, you know, the hive mind that is the symbiote.
Yes.
I would also like to take this point to point out that Venom run is also the story of the Borg Collective, so you could also read Star Trek and learn the same things.
All right. Instead of defending Venom, which I am not want to do, let's get on to some books.
Yes. Also, what I will say about this movie, last thing, it's a great low point to come into the Eternals. Because because at this point, there is no way the Eternals can disappoint me.
I haven't seen the Eternals yet, but I have heard what the end credit scenes are.
There is no way the Eternals can disappoint me at this point. Like, I'm coming from such a low, and I know so little about the Eternals that...
My guess is you're going to love the Eternals from everything I'm hearing from last night's preview.
Right.
That this is more up your alley. Plus, you don't know any of the source material. So
I know some, but I don't know a lot.
Yeah,
right. I know what you've taught me.
Yeah. It can't do what wrong. You know?
Right. Right.
It's not, there's no subtitle. They're not doing a specific run or an arc. So.
Right. And again, even if they were, I only know what you've taught me. So it's they can't do anything to disappoint me. And that's a much better place to be in than any comic book movie has ever been in ever, except for maybe Shang-Chi, which I loved.
Great movie. That's
All right, let's start with from IDW. This is Mindbreaker, which is what Venom was to me. So.
It's interesting. D&D's big again lately, but it's huge this week because not only do we get D&D Mindbreaker #1, we also get a Critical Role comic #1, and Critical Role is kicking off their third campaign Thursday night, which is going to be huge. They have a whole new set, a whole new setup. Right now, you can go online and see the making of their new set. So I thought these were good books. And tomorrow on the Dan Wickline show, we're going to talk about starting a new D&D campaign. What you got to do, both from a player's point of view and a DM's point of view. And I'm right now starting a new campaign. We just had our 0 session, and we're going to have on November 7th will be our first one. There's a couple industry people playing, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern or Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Dan Wickline Show. Now, about this, I always do that the wrong way. It's this way. Dungeons and Dragons Mindbreaker. It's an ongoing group of characters that Jim Zub has been writing, but this is a new jumping in point, and I have not been keeping up with the series. Didn't find this one that hard to follow, though. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You get a lot of stuff. It's Jim Zub with artist Eduardo Mello, and the solicitation says the prelude to the much-anticipated video game Baldur's Gate 3 begins here. Changed by their experiences in Avernus, Kreidel, Shandy, Delina, Neris, and Minsk, and Boo, the rat, return home to Baldur's Gate to find that something much more insidious has taken root. What could be behind the odd behavior of the head librarian of the Knowledge Hold? Now, it's more than just the head librarian. It's the religious leader for one of the characters. Another one of the characters has this big weight on his shoulders from a deal he made in the last one. I mean, there's a lot going on here. And the big guy in the center of the cover has no memory. He had his memory wiped. So he comes home, he goes, Baldur's Gate. I wish I remembered it. And it's kind of funny. And he's the one that runs around with the little rat Boo. But it's a pretty good first issue. It really gets your attention. You learn just enough about the characters, even if you haven't been reading, to get invested in them. And the art's great. Jim Zub is great at writing these books. It's obvious it's like he's DMing the game for us, and we're following along. So if you're a D&D fan, also Baldur's Gate and Avernus and all that stuff that we've been playing in the games lately, the new books that have been coming out, this follows along. So if you're a D&D person, here's a great first issue to pick up on.
There is an alternate cover I wanted to show.
Okay. There's a couple that I've met. Should have saved that one for tomorrow's show.
Oh, I'm not going to delete it. We'll show it again tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
It's a good meme.
Yes, it is. If you like Squid Game, I think it's called.
Yes, but also if you've ever DM'd a D&D campaign, you know the feeling behind that man's eyes.
Yes.
So I work sometimes with a company called Reliquary Game Studios. And we created an RPG a few years ago called Clockwork Dominion. And we have another RPG coming out that is a Ronin RPG where it's set in feudal Japan. It's this whole thing. And we're trying to get together to do the first real alpha test. We've done a lot of the math and done a lot of the work, but now it's time to play. Mm-hmm. And it's like we could play every fifth Thursday if the moon is full and no one's child has homework.
It's, you know, the term wrangling cats, I'm pretty sure it came up from a
D&D campaign?
Yeah, a DM came up with that.
So, all right. Next one up is Killer Queens #3. David Boer. It's a big gay space romp. It's a lot of fun. I finally caught up on this one after being a delinquent and not reading #2 for like a month. So just remember hench otters and an evil monkey with a jetpack, and I shouldn't have to sell this book anymore.
And you should have the Queen song in your head right now. Killer Queens up down the Trinity.
I was gonna say, I'm lazing on a Sunday afternoon.
No, Killer Queen. Why would you go to the song that's not the exact title?
Because it's too easy. All right, we have now. This is from our friends at Zenoscope. Grim Spotlight: Cinderella versus Zombies #1.
Yes. Now, Of course, we don't know who the hell did it because they keep not putting that in the solicitations. Dave, if you're listening.
Can we not call them? Can we just call them? Dan, you and I get on the phone with them and be like, look.
I'll get a hold of Dave. He just hit me up for something today. So 32 pages of lunacy and content. Cinderella has taken on the apocalypse and died, taken on her own mind and lost, and even taken on Christmas. Kind of won. But this time she takes on a whole new threat, deciding what to eat. Oh, and zombies. When a crazed, obsessive lunatic accidentally brings on the zombie apocalypse, yes, one of those, somehow and for some reason, our only hope is Cindy? Don't miss this violent, no-punch-pulling, insane adventure that only Cindy can shamble into. That is a really well-written solicitation.
It is. And I will give you some more details knowing a little bit about this book in that Cindy is kind of retired from being Cinderella. She wants a simple, normal everything. So she moves to Canada, where there's always something to do. And
are they polite zombies?
I imagine they apologize after eating your brain. Brains, sorry.
Brains, eh?
Right. Trudeau. No. So no, it's them. You know, so she's kind of trying to settle down. And the zombie apocalypse happens, and she has to be Cinderella again. And she doesn't really want to be. So it's an interesting take on a zombie apocalypse story with a character that, if you've read Zenoscope, you know really, really well.
Yep.
So, all right. Next up on the list of madness, Veronica Revenge.
Didn't we just do this?
No, this is a different one.
The cover looks the same.
They all look vaguely the same, Dan. But it's Pumpkill is summoned by the White Witch for the most grisly task by Glenn Danzig and Simon Bisley. Verotic's devil girl Akuma Shi makes her shocking return to the Verotic Pantheon by Glenn Danzig and Rafa Garris, all wrapped up in an incredible painted cover by Simon Bisley. Look, the universe of Verotic is like this big. The covers all look vaguely the same, and the stories are all vaguely similar. But it's because imagine if you had, and I'm going to equate this to Dynamite Comics because they have also powerful women leads in a lot of their books. Imagine you had Purgatory, Red Sonja, Vampirella, Barbarella, and give me one more, Dan.
Painkiller, or not pain? The new book.
Jennifer Blood.
Jennifer Blood, that's it.
All on a team.
Okay.
And it was their job just to deal with every screwed up thing that happened. That's the Verotic universe. And they only come out when Glenn Danzig feels like publishing. So there's a lot to cover and not a lot of time to do it. You know, this is very much an Eastbound and Down situation. So Glenn Danzig and Simon Bisley.
Okay. I was pretty sure it's the same cover the last time. But...
It may be, but it's a different book.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Sim didn't do one piece of work and just slap different titles on it. All right, we'll hit one more because we talked about it already. This is Critical Role, Tales of Exandria, the Bright Queen.
This is a fascinating book because it's a lot of setup. If you're a fan of Critical Role and the world that Matt Mercer has built, this book really gets you deep into this. This is Tales of Exandria, the Bright Queen #1. And Leyland Kryn, the Bright Queen of the Kryn dynasty, has spent multiple lives in pursuit of assembling the Luxon. With her eternal lover Quana at her side, she will stop at nothing to use its otherworldly power to bring a golden age to the people under her rule. So when what might be the final piece of the Luxon appears nearby, Leylus sends Quana to collect it with consequences that may threaten the entire dynasty. This gets into world building like you wouldn't believe. It is all about the creation of Exandria, the gods. I mean, the first few pages just go into the lore of creation for this universe, which absolutely fascinating. Matt Mercer is incredible at this universe he's built. And this book, if like I said, if you're a critter, pick this up because it covers
a Role fan.
Yeah, critter.
I understand, but for those of you not in the know, that's their version of Swifties.
If you're not in the know, then you're not a critter.
Correct.
So check this out. It's got a lot of world building, like I said, and also it starts a compelling story where we're going to see Layla getting into action. You know, the Bright Queen is going to have to kick some ass.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it completely. I look forward to the next issue.
Yes. So I will say this.
By the way, the artists are going by the name of a couple of kooks, so we really don't know who they are.
Right. So I'm gonna put this out there. If you've ever DM'd or GM'd or whatever your particular game calls the person who runs the game, you can relate to what Matt Mercer is doing in these books in terms of you in your mind build this pantheonic kind of story, and then your party just slices and dices and destroys it. You create characters that are meant to be long running, and you know this is supposed to be an antagonist for the whole thing, and they kill it the first encounter. All of this kind of stuff is stuff that happens in these books. Like, it never goes the way you expect the book to go because that's how your campaign goes.
Right.
And if you've never DM'd or GM'd and you've never played a tabletop RPG, these books are a great way to understand what the game is, how it works. When I first started RPGing, I didn't understand the difference between a tabletop RPG and a video game RPG in terms of the way you have to think about the play. This is a great tool to kind of understand that if you treat your tabletop game like you treat your video game, it's going to be dire for you're not going to have a whole lot of fun. You've got to think about it more like it's your actual life and things like that. And these books are great ways to kind of start to formulate that thinking and formulate that mindset.
Yeah.
So Critical Role is the best. There are a couple of great YouTube and on other services, tabletop RPG shows. If you find that you like this and you want more, those are some options. But also maybe keep your eyes peeled here on the experience. I don't know if I can get one developed. I want one, so we're gonna work on one. So.
Yep. I think I even volunteered the DM for that, which I don't know why I did that.
Well, we can alternate, Dan. That's one of my favorite things to do is the DM. So,
okay, I miss playing. I haven't played in a while. I keep getting pulled in, and then I have to create characters as I'm DMing because there's always somebody, something short.
Right.
Yep. Just had to roll a cleric.
So I find that my characters somehow turn out to be somewhere between the guy from CSI, who always took his glasses off.
Yeah.
Batman, and every murder hobo you ever imagined.
I tried to go the opposite direction with characters. I tried to make them as unique as possible. I currently have a halfling rogue named Ashcroft, and it speaks like this for the whole game.
I love it. No, the problem is that that's how my characters wind up spec'd, and I don't ever intend to do it. It just happens.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're gonna take a real quick break because we're very over on time, and we'll be back in like a minute here on The Experience.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
What's up, the internet? I am Kyle's Office, and he is a legend in his own mind. This is in stores this week, and we are talking about new books that are in stores this week, but we're doing a very poor job of it because we talked for a long time about Lucille Ball, and then D&D, and Venom.
Yes.
So let's just dive right back in with Miles Morales Spider-Man. This is one of the Halloween comic book extravaganza books. If you don't know about that, this is the answer to the fact that there is no Halloween Comic Fest this year.
Yeah, basically there's 4 books, and we should probably go through all of them around the same time if you've got them loaded that way. They're reprint. Okay, they're reprint books. We'll cover them. We'll cover them when they come up. Then this is Miles Morales Halloween Comic Book Extravaganza 2021 number 1. Like you need the number 1 because there's not a number 2, but it's a reprint of the Miles Morales book. But these things go for like 30 cents, so you pick them up to give them out for Halloween for the good kids or the kids with a great costume or whatever. But this is balancing his normal life, school, parenting, etc. And superheroing has never been easy. But when the Rhino and a cadre of mysterious criminals start plaguing Brooklyn, things take a dark turn, and Miles doesn't even know the half of it yet. Eisner Award winner Saladin Ahmed from Black Bolt and young gun Javier Garrón from Ant-Man and the Wasp brings you the latest incarnation of the coolest character in the Marvel Universe. So you pick this up for 30 cents a copy, and you give it out for, Halloween. And what's better? I mean, come on. Don't mess with the kids' teeth. They don't have to brush afterwards. You give them a comic book, give them the gift of reading, and there's 4 great books. So this is just the first of the 4.
Right. So a couple of things. Just so you guys are aware, when Halloween Comic Fest does happen or Free Comic Book Day, this is about what your retailer is paying for the books that they're giving you for free. Mm-hmm. So this is a great turnabout is fair play kind of thing. You pay 30 cents to your retailer, and then you get to give them away for free. Second, in the comments, 69 or 62 Lefty Blues, he never would because of the restraining order.
Disappointed.
There you go. I do think we have 2 of these loaded up together, though, because there's Daredevil.
Yeah, this is where Elektra takes over as Daredevil. Sorry, spoiler. New Daredevil rises, protect Hell's Kitchen. Matt Murdock is a killer, but while he's serving his time as a mass vigilante called Daredevil, Hell's Kitchen has suddenly been left without a guardian devil, or has it? Until Elektra Nasios took it upon herself to protect Matt's home neighborhood and his legacy as the new Daredevil, but she's already got her own work cut out for her. Wilson Fisk remains seated as New York's mayor, with Typhoid Mary, the Owl, Hammerhead, and all these other lethal and familiar foes at his beck and call. Yeah, this is a great
comeback.
What?
You know who needs to come back?
Stick?
Richard Fisk.
Interesting. The Rose.
The schemer.
But he also went by the Rose for a while.
Right. You know the story about the schemer, right? The art had come in for the cover that said "Enter the Schemer," and schemer had been spelled wrong, and it said "Enter the Schmear," and it got all the way to stand for final approval before somebody caught it.
Enter the schmear. This guy's making a bagel?
Right. I'm just saying, like, I would like to see Richard Fisk, the Rose or the Schemer, come back and be like, his dad's right hand, like, chief of staff, like actually out there busting skulls and stuff. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All
62
right.
Lefty Blues stopped buying Marvel or DC.
I think you'll find 62 Lefty Blues that neither of us really do that much either. We talk about the big important books. I get a lot of the big important books, so I can read them, so I know what's happening. But my pull list itself is very light on the big two. So, speaking of, let's talk about Swamp Dogs, House of Crows.
Good cover.
Very good cover. It's got a lot going for it. It's got that old sort of pulpy movie feel.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Scout Comics. And what we have is, as I click on the wrong thing again, this is by Theo Prasadis, J.M. Brandt, with art by Kuber Ball. They came from this.
I didn't realize Cooper was doing this. That's great.
Yeah. They came from the swamp, the scummiest squad of Confederate soldiers, brought back to life by powerful voodoo magic. They crave power, carnage, and female flesh. They are the Swamp Dogs, now young lovers, Ayana and Violet, and their friends from the goofy stoner metal band The Grunch will unknowingly fall into their ghoulish nest in House of Crows. Bear witness to a rollicking gore fest straight out of the shocking grindhouse and revengeful blaxploitation of the 1970s and the cult horror classics of the 1980s with a modern twist. Keep telling yourself it's just a book. It's just a book. Wow, I had a harder time reading that than I would have liked to for a book that I've known about and know about as well as I do.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the South shall rise again is the beginning of this book. Somebody gets a hold of some dark magic and resurrects a bunch of Confederate soldiers. But the thing of it is that they're sort of zombies. Not exactly zombies. They're more like voodoo.
Voodoo zombies, yeah.
Voodoo zombies. And they have the same sort of reaction to things that they would have had in life, because the people who are controlling them have those same reactions. And so you have this group of hippie kind of, I like to imagine it's the Archie gang with more weed, and more LSD, in a kind of in their sights and trying to fend them off, and it doesn't exactly go well. So pre-ordered Swamp Dogs, it's good. The other thing I'll tell you, Scout Comics, right? They don't play by the normal rules. We tell you about them when they hit our solicitation lists. Some stores have had them. Some stores won't have them for a couple of weeks because the way Scout Direct works. So just be aware of that and make sure if you don't have it on your pull list, you add it. All right. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 122. I put this one on the list for a very specific reason.
Because you're obsessed with the Turtles?
No.
Are you denying you're obsessed with the Turtles?
No.
Okay.
Last issue was a Mutanimal story. I've been asked to host a panel with, and I'm going to blank on his name now, but he was one of the co-creators of the Mutanimals with Kevin and Peter back in the day. Steve Levine. At Cherry Capital Comic Con. I'm actually interviewing both Bill Morrison and Steve Levine at Cherry Capital Comic Con doing panels.
Nice.
But the fallout from the confrontation between the Mutanimals and the TMNT continues, with many questioning what direction Mutant Town is headed for. While the Turtles discuss their new path forward, Hob begins to set his sights on a new target, Baxter Stockman. I love how they're using the Mutanimals and the Turtles to tell a modern day allegory for a lot of what's actually happening in society today. It's Sophie Campbell written. So it has a really light touch and really nice. She handles it with great tact, throwing the things that are happening in our society back in our faces by telling them through the mouths of turtles. And it's very good. All right. The finale of this next series. We're 5 books in, and this is the last one. The United States of Captain America, number 5. We meet our 5th brand new character and new Captain America. This series, remember, is being overseen by Chris Cantwell and Dale Eaglesham. This issue was written entirely by Chris Cantwell, which isn't a thing that has happened thus far.
Right.
Every issue has had a Christopher Cantwell and Dale Eaglesham story, and then another story from another creative team that is representative of the character they've created. So after the S.H.I.E.L.D. thieves free a deadly villain, Bucky Barnes teams up with an Air Force intelligence officer who might know how to recapture the villain, while John, Sam, and Steve give pursuit. When his allies run into trouble, Bucky is forced to face his complicated feelings about taking up the Captain America mantle again. The Captain's network bands together in one last epic battle to keep the S.H.I.E.L.D. from becoming used for nefarious purposes. Don't miss the pulse-pounding finale of this groundbreaking series. So if you remember the stories as they've happened, right? You had Captain America of the Unhoused. You had Captain America who was LGBTQ. You had Captain America, Native American Captain America. What was the other one, Dan? I'm blanking.
There was a Native American.
The campus Captain America, who is female.
Yeah.
Who is representing the abused and downtrodden amongst college kids, apparently. So you have this band of Captain Americas all working together, and in this issue, they all come together for one last ride to keep the S.H.I.E.L.D. from falling into the wrong hands.
Surprised I never got a call. I'm sure they wanted an old fat white Captain America. But, yeah.
I mean, maybe you'll get the call for the next series when they want a giant Captain America.
There you
qualify
go.
on several levels, Dan.
What if Blob became Captain America? There you go.
You write it, I'll model for it. No one wants to see that, but I will do the cosplay covers. All right. This is Night of the Ghoul from Comixology Press.
Yeah, this is a fascinating story. Scott Snyder's doing a bunch of books over at Comixology, and this must be the one to do for horror. But he's doing it with Francesco Francavilla, who is just great at creating the atmosphere for horror. And I'm not even going to read the solicitation on this one because it doesn't matter. This is a story about a guy who becomes obsessed with a missing film, kind of like London at Midnight, the missing Lon Chaney film that we have still shots from. They've tried to recreate it. Well, this is a film called Night of the Ghoul, and it's all about this group of soldiers in World War I who go into this area and come across this ghoul, and the film got destroyed, or the only print got destroyed. It never got released. And this guy has tracked down the copy has pieced together what he can, he and his son, and they've actually found the director who's living under an assumed name in a rest home somewhere, and he goes out to talk to him about it, is lying to all these people just to get in to see the guy, and you find out there is so much more going on by the end of it. Yeah, it is.
At New York, Comixology had a big booth, and they would hand you a QR code, and you could scan it and get a free 2-page preview. And this is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God.
Yeah, the World War I scenes are great, but the whole scene between this guy, this obsessed fan, and this old director, it feels a little familiar, because I think some other stories have tried to do this, but this feels like it's going to be the best version of it, if that makes sense.
So some of the stuff I've read of Scott's that he's doing for Comixology has felt like less peak Scott Snyder than you wish it would. Things that are, it definitely isn't his Batman run, and it's not even severed. Like, it just felt like he was a little bit off. And then you read this and you're like, oh, no, that's not true. He just is, maybe this was the one he hit hard.
He's trying new things.
So yeah.
Yeah. So this isn't going to be the Scott Snyder you're used to, or at least not from the Batman stuff, if that's the only place you come across Scott Snyder.
Right.
This
it's
is
definitely
really good. Right? Yeah.
It definitely is like that.
This is a great setup issue. This is a great first issue. Gives you everything you need to know. Creates the atmosphere. It's creepy as hell.
Yes.
And
yes.
So
totally nightmarish.
And you're really not sure who to root for in this thing.
It's true. All right. We're going to move on to, this is Unfinished Corner. This is an original graphic novel from Vault Comics. So the premise of this book is essentially Jewish mythology has it that when God created the universe, he left one corner of it unfinished. The opinion is divided on why, but everyone, agrees that the unfinished corner is a dangerous place full of monsters. 12-year-old Miriam neither knows nor cares about the unfinished corner. She's too busy prepping for her bat mitzvah, wrestling with whether she even wants to be Jewish, until a peculiar angel appears, whisking her two best friends, and her worst enemy off to this monstrous land with one mission: finish the unfinished corner. There are some beautiful stories in Jewish mythology. I get to enjoy them from kind of secondarily through friends and family, but they are not my mythology, so I don't want to comment necessarily on what they are. But this is one of the stories that I've heard. And the idea that we need you to finish it to save the world is really interesting.
62 Lefty says they end up fighting the Schmear.
There are worse things you can fight. A bad schmear will ruin a good bagel.
That's true.
But anyhow, so this is great. It's Danny Coleman written and Rachel Tuna Petrovitz art. It is a not entirely an all ages graphic novel, but it certainly can reach down into those young adult readers. There are some parts that might be a little heavy for that age group, but by and large, it could be seen by a big group.
Cool.
Nubia and the Amazons, #1.
Yeah, they're going to do some big stuff with Wonder Woman this year, being her 80th anniversary. And Nubia has been left in charge of Themyscira as Hippolyta has gone off, and a lot's going on. But Nubia and the Amazon is Vida Ayala, Stephanie Williams, and Aletha Martinez. And with the unexpected arrival of new Amazons, our hero is forced to reckon with her past and forge a new path forward for her sisters. Little does she know, a great evil grows beneath the island, and it's up to this former guardian of Doom's doorway to unite her tribe before paradise is lost forever. So these are going to be stories that take place on Themyscira, that focuses on the Amazons, and Nubia is leading the Amazons. So she's in charge at this point because, like I said, Hippolyta has left for other things, and Wonder Woman is off doing other things. So this is pretty much on her now as the head of the Amazons. And don't know what's under the island, but that sounds pretty scary to me.
So I posted it during Jen's show, but there's a well on Themyscira that has been sealed for years magically.
Mm-hmm.
And it reopens magically. Look, if a mysterious well ever reopens, run.
Yes.
If we've learned nothing from Lock and Key
or Ring
or the Ring or ironically Billy Connolly's father's service record from the Indian Revolution in India, never go near a well.
Lassie movies. Yeah.
What was it, Baby Nicole or whatever, the baby in the well from the 80s?
Yeah. I thought it was Baby Jessica.
Baby Jessica. Wells are bad.
All wells never end well.
I'm so angry I didn't make that joke. I was trying to come up with where there's a well, there's a way.
Nice.
And damn it, Dan. All right, this is Nobody's Child, number 2 from Behemoth Comics. So this is Massimo Rossi and Ramiro Barreo. Bakari, a boy dealing with a wretched upbringing, has dedicated his life to protect Sabium, the last albino rhinoceros on planet Earth. Sabium and his breed have been hunted due to their genetic code, which holds the properties to regenerate man. After the events of the first issue, Bakari is immediately thrusted into trouble as he and Sabarium are found by the hunters. This is a story about somebody who, after you read the first issue, you realize that Bakari maybe isn't the most normal person. He might be special. But he comes from a place that is so despotized and so awful that not leaving there would have completely squashed what makes him interesting and special. So he feels drawn to this rhinoceros, which is the last of its kind, as Bakari is also the last of his kind. And it's a buddy cop movie from there, if that buddy cop movie gets more and more disturbing and more terrifying. Bakari gives me definite Doctor Who vibes. Especially the episodes where the Doctor is teamed up with another alien that is the last of their kind, like the face of Bo or something.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting feeling. I really dig this book, and I dig Behemoth Comics, so we keep rolling with it.
Cool.
Just remember, this is a book that comes out every 2 months. All right, and we'll do one more before we take a break, because this is Catwoman in the Lonely City, number 1 by Cliff Chiang.
Yes, Cliff Chiang is writing and drawing this book. This is his baby. Says, 10 years ago, the massacre known as Fool's Night claimed the lives of Batman, the Joker, Nightwing, and Commissioner Gordon, and sent Selina Kyle, the Catwoman, to prison. A decade later, Gotham has grown up. It's put away costume heroism and villainy as childish things. The new Gotham is cleaner, safer, and a lot less free under the watchful eye of Mayor Harvey Dent and his Bat Cops. It's into this new city that Selina returns, a changed woman with her mind on the one last big score. The secret's hidden inside the Bat Cave. She doesn't need the money. She just needs to know who is Orpheus.
And Gotham sounds a lot like post Rudy Giuliani, New York. Makes me sad. I love the idea that there is this last great secret buried in the Batcave, and that secret will reveal what happened to everybody.
Yeah.
And I love that it's Cliff Chang, who is amazing. There is a Jacques 1 in 25 variant that I'm not going to put up because stores had to pop for 25 copies of this book to get just one of them. But if you can get it, get it. It's gorgeous.
I like this one because it's got the history of Catwoman basically in the one little thing
absolutely. There. Like, don't get me wrong. This is gorgeous too.
Yeah.
But that, it's Jacques. It's just, it's got something to it. So
yeah, the Black Label books are always so cool, and they're always such a different take in the story that they always get my attention.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes here on The Experience, where Dan and I promise we will talk about more books.
Ish.
That's fair. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Brian Haberlin, and I want to tell you a little bit about my new book coming out in October, Hellcop. Hellcop's been rattling around my brain for decades. When I launched Avalon Comics with Whilce Portacio, Hellcop was one of the initial launches, but I was wearing a lot of hats back then. So I gave over the reins to Joe Casey and Gilbert Monsanto, and they did a great job, but it was my baby. If you look at sketchbooks I've done over the years, there's Hellcops throughout. There are pages started, stories started. So let me tell you a little bit about the story. Discovering a whole new world that had only previously existed in our collective imaginations. A tale of adventure, betrayal. Hell's just another place, another planet with native creatures most on Earth would call monsters. And humans that have been there as long as they've been here. Doctors, lawyers, maybe too many lawyers. Please join me in October for the release of Hellcop and the Hellcop 3D Halloween special. Hey, I want to say thanks for watching, and I really hope you can go and ask your retailer to pick up Hellcop for October. There's going to be a 3D version with 3D glasses and the whole 9 yards, and the regular version, of course, too, with some pretty fun covers. Thank you for your attention, your support, as always, and hope you guys have a great day.
What's up, the internet? It's Kyle. That's Dan. And I have an announcement to make. Dan doesn't even know this one yet. This week will likely be the last week for the 2-hour version of this show.
Go on.
More announcements when I can make them, hopefully tomorrow. But this will likely be the last week where we do 2 hours of this show. We are going to retool, reformat, and make it even better and do what Dan and I do best, which is get into the weeds on things. really dive deep into what some of these books are and who some of these creators are and why some of these books are more interesting than we often have time to give them credit for. So that is something that Dan and I have been talking about and working on, and that thing is almost ready. So assuming the show that's going to be after us is ready to go, we will begin to make our transition as well.
Nice.
Also, tomorrow on the Dan Wickline Show, Dan will be talking about Dungeons and Dragons, which is something we already talked about on this show.
Yes, but
So
we'll be
tune in
talking
tomorrow for more of that.
We'll be talking about starting a new campaign, both as a DM and as a player.
Yes. Following Dan tomorrow will be Comic Collectibles with Rex and the Not Nicks. Sometimes I'm a Not Nick. I don't know if I am tomorrow or not. But that's after that. And then on Thursday, Dan will be back with a show talking about a topic.
Yeah, something cool.
Yeah. Maybe an interview. We'll see what we can come up with.
That would be good.
It's weird for Dan not having a show to talk about. Hey, Disney, you know how you pushed all this stuff back? Can you bring some stuff forward so Dan has a show to make?
Yeah,
that would be helpful.
Yeah, I don't have a show to review, you know?
Right.
Might catch up on the Lost Symbol and talk about that one. We'll see.
There you go. Maybe. Or maybe you and I can both binge. Maybe you and I can just both binge a Sorkin show and be like, all right, we're going to break down Sorkin. But no, following Dan on Thursday is Mishmash with Miss Jen. No, What's in the Box with Miss Jen, where we will hopefully be debuting some of our New York Comic-Con footage. And then starting in a couple of weeks from now, starting Thursday, there will be a new sales show on after Miss Jen. Kicking It with Henri, which used to be Kicking It with Henri and Kevin, is moving from Wednesdays to Thursdays here on The Experience. And it'll be our first late night show running from 10 to midnight Eastern. Or 7 to 9 if you're on the West Coast.
Joel, I did do an episode focused on Star Wars Visions shortly after it came out. So I covered all the different ones together. So yeah, there is an episode. If you look back on the YouTube channel, you can find it. I might take I'll take a quick second, depending on the books, and see if I can figure out which one it is for you.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But beyond that, on Friday, we will have So Much Cosplay, the Original Art Experience, and Friday Night Live with Nancy McCann. Our weekend shows are shuffled a little bit. Dan's show is moving down in the day. Pop Go the Writers now runs from 8:30 to 10 on The Experience. And before that is I Must Ask You a Question with Jen King and James Hake from Scout Comics. Saturday is about to see a big shakeup too in the coming months with some very interesting new programming there. And then Sunday we have the Latchkey Manifesto with Fat Jack's Comic Crypt in Philadelphia. That's the rest of the week.
Cool. We really need to put what I'm talking about in the title of the show.
Right, but we've only done one show since we had that conversation again. So when I get a second, I will change today's.
Okay.
All right, let's get back to the books, which is Pop Star Assassin. Dan, if you had to pick one pop star from all of history who would also have been a time travel or globe-trotting assassin, who would you pick?
Freddie Mercury.
That is the wrong answer. The correct answer is Tom Jones.
That would be unusual.
It's not all that unusual. The year is 1977. The king is dead. The world mourns. But ironic, you want to hear a funny story? Elvis died the day my mom got her driver's license. My mom was coming back from getting her driver's license, and she had to pull the car over because on the radio they announced that Elvis had died. So the year is 1977. The king is dead, and the world mourns. But when a mysterious briefcase turns up in his dressing room, Bruce, a coke addict Elvis impersonator, finds himself wedged between a mob boss out for revenge and a government conspiracy with far-reaching, world-ending ramifications, all in an attempt to discover the true identity of his father's killer. It's sex, drugs, rockin' robots, 70s style, in this all-out action adventure. The year is 1977. The king is dead. Long live the king. Also, who the fuck is Molly? Written by Matt Cashel and Ed LaValle, with art by Marcelo Basil.
Somebody keeps saying station to you.
Those are people who are a fan of one of the YouTubers that comes on Nick's show and are referencing a thing that neither of us know about. But welcome, TM Nerdy. This is in stores this week. We should come up with a catchphrase like that because I dig it.
Okay.
It's a Bill and Ted reference. Can our catchphrase be Socrates?
Does it have to be?
No. Dude. Okay. Yeah. No. So, Popstar Assassin is that's out from Behemoth Comics. Shock of shocks. I'm into a Behemoth book. All right, the Orville Artifacts, part 1 of 2. So here's what's great about the Orville, right? The show is over.
Thought season 3 was just to be released.
It is, but once that's done, it's done.
Okay.
But they're going to continue it, much like they have Firefly, much like they have Buffy, much like they have Angel in comics.
Yeah.
But what they've decided to do is to do 2 shots. You get a first book and a second book, and that's it. So they tell the story in 2 books rather than looping you in for this big long run that you might not be interested in. Written by David Goodman, with art by David Cabeza. When Ed bumps into his old astroarchaeology teacher, the professor asks him for assistance in his pursuit of the lost fleet of Zankon, whose system-spanning empire rose and fell millions of years ago, according to the legend. However, doing so means taking the Orville into a system so hazardous, no ship has ever successfully navigated it. Mama always said if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all, so we're not going to talk about Ed. But I love the Orville and members of the cast, and I'm very excited for season 3 and for the ongoing continuation of the stories and comics.
That looks like it's a chicken if it was genetically altered to be just dark meat.
You know what it looks like to me? If Slimer took chicken form.
Yeah, we could do that one too.
62 Lefty Blues. If you can't say anything nice about a guy, don't say anything at all. But he does do that job. There is a bigger story here that is not mine to tell. But he's a great actor, good guy, but
Alrighty.
Yeah. But he is the voice of Steve Smith on American Dad. All right. A book that I think everybody in the world is excited for. Nita Hawes's Nightmare Blog from Image Comics.
Yep, this is Rodney Barnes, Jason Sean Alexander, and Patrick Reynolds. And this is continuing the Eisner-nominated Philadelphia series. This is a new tie-in horror series by writer Rodney Barnes and Jason Sean Alexander. Jimmy Sangster might have left Maryland for the vampire-infested city of Philadelphia, but there is still untold evil lurking the streets of Baltimore.
That's true. I was just there.
Yeah, the demon Corson has surfaced from the underworld to possess a once wronged man, and his vengeance will come at the cost of humanity's despair. But Jimmy's former lover, Nita Hawes, a woman who, with demons of her own, has begun a quest to root the evil out of her city. Guided by the ghost of her dead brother, she must come to terms with her own past, lest she join her brother in a state worse than death.
Virginia.
Yep. This is one of the ones that's probably bumped till next week in your shop. You have to ask. Be nice if it is.
Yeah, there were several. We saw Hellcop get its whole release date pushed back a week because of this. Nita Hawes is pushed, as is Gunslinger Spawn. There may be a couple of others, just be aware. Rodney Barnes, though, man, can we talk about a hot streak? Dan and I started doing this show together, and it was like everything Steve Orlando touched was gold. And it still is. But Rodney Barnes, man, has come on and made a real strong run of it as late. And just crushing every page.
Yep.
So I'm very excited. Philadelphia has been a great series. It's been a super fun read. And Rodney Barnes is a great writer. If you guys want to know Rodney Barnes' work, maybe go watch The Boondocks.
There you go.
Throwing that one out there. All right. The next book, I'm going to guess if Dan had to look at all the books and pick which one I wouldn't pick, this is one. This is Agretsuko Super Fun Special from Oni Press.
I absolutely thought you'd pick this one.
This is a heavy metal cat, guys. When Kabe gives Retsuko a book from a Regency era romance series, our hero becomes obsessed. After reading the entire series over a sleepless weekend, Retsuko finds that her mother also loves the series, and the two spend an entire lunch talking about it. They are thrilled to realize that a pop-up shop themed around the book has opened nearby and is hosting a competition for a pre-release DVD of the TV show pilot. Also featuring 2 all-new stories from Brenda Hickey, Josh Tierney, and Shadia Amin. This is one of those characters like Gudetama or Domo or Hello Kitty. It started off as a mascot and has taken on a life of its own. And if you're into slice of life manga told in 32-page comic form, this is for you.
See, I look at this cover and immediately thought you were going to pick this one because I fully believe that after you spend the day dealing with crazy people and getting off the phone and you go to your happy place, and this is what your happy place looks like.
Not the books that I surround myself with are 22 and 32 pages. Not big, thick books like that. Also, I have never been that happy a day in my life. So, But no, so the thing about this is it's a slice of life manga starring a mascot, and it's hysterical. Also, when this cat gets angry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's a cat.
Yes, it's a cat. Kinda.
Because there's no whiskers.
Right. Not exactly. It's a manga cat. So it's kind of a red panda, kind of a cat, kind of several things. But just know that it will claw your eyes out.
Okay.
Speaking of clawing your eyes out.
Ah, yes. Another book.
Someone who will.
Yes. Gunslinger Spawn. This is cool. This is Todd McFarlane, Alyssa Scott, Philip Tan, and Kevin Keane, who sounds like he should be on an episode of Riverdale. Introducing the launch of the second new monthly title spinning out of the Spawn universe with one of the most popular characters in the entire Spawn mythology. This book contains 3 separate gunslinger stories, each taking a look at his journey through time. From the Wild Wild West to the 21st century. Will his 200-year-old past come back to haunt him? Of course, it's a Spawn comic. As he navigates the strange world of 2021, get ready for the past and present to collide in this new ongoing title. I'm a little surprised it's taken Todd this long to expand on the Spawn universe.
Same.
You know, he had Medieval Spawn for a while that had a series, and and he had the Sam and Twitch book and stuff like that. But then he just kind of compacted back down to just the main title for a long time, and now you get Gunslinger Spawn and King Spawn, and
I'm gonna take my Spawn down the Old Town Road. No, there's actually a story in here where Gunslinger Spawn can't deal with his mechanical horse because it runs out of fuel, aka his motorcycle.
yes.
I was over Spawn from about issue 250 to about 295. And then somebody's like, hey, have you read Spawn lately? And so I picked up like 295, 296, and he hooked me again at 300.
You were out, and they pulled you back in.
Todd's getting so much of my stupid money. He's just going to buy another baseball with it.
Oh, yeah. That, and he's got the DC Direct money now, too, from that deal.
This book is delayed a week in a lot of stores. Your stores who did the 1 and 250, some of those are delayed as well. So just be cool tomorrow when you go to your shop. If this isn't readily available, make sure before you get angry that you missed out and it sold out, make sure they actually put them out because it may not be available until next week.
Leave the 6 guns at home.
Right, unless you bring, unless they're Nerf and you bring some for your retailer. I'm sure you could convince your retailer to get into a Nerf war with you. If you can't, find a different LCS. Star Wars High Republic Halloween special because they don't have Halloween in the Star Wars universe.
Would you prefer Life Day?
Yes.
All right, folks. Again, this is another one that you can pick up for 30 cents, and this is a reprint of the start of the High Republic. So it's a great jumping on point for a whole new era of Star Wars. This is before the Skywalker saga, the golden age of the Jedi. A new era of Star Wars storytelling begins. In its centuries before the Skywalker saga, the Jedi are at the height, protecting the galaxy as Republic pioneers push out into new territories. As the frontier prepares for dedication of the majestic Starlight Beacon, Padawan Keeve Trennis faces the ultimate choice. Will she complete her Jedi trials or rescue the innocent from disaster? New Jedis, new ships, new evils to fight. This is Cavan Scott. This is a really good read. I picked it up and read it the first time it came out. This is a great jumping on point. If you've got kids that like Star Wars, but this could be their Star Wars. That's the thing.
Yeah, this is one of those books that's going to be hard to pick up as a single issue in other forms.
Yes.
This book was wildly hot when it came out. It continues to be so. And this may be the only way you can ever own this book in this form. So just think about that. And then think about giving it away to kids at Halloween.
And there's a Trandoshan Jedi. That is awesome. Scour is awesome. The whole idea of a Trandoshan Jedi is still one of my favorite things in a long time. It's like a Klingon pacifist.
It's like a Borg with a unique thought.
Yeah.
Or a symbiote with a unique thought.
Mm-hmm. A symbiote on a diet.
Now that's funny. All right, Exo Man of War number 7. Dan and I have been back and forth on this Exo Man of War thing.
Read this yesterday. Love this issue because it really starts. We really get to feel where Dennis Hopeless is going with this. The story is basically, the setup. You've got basically Conan in Iron Man's armor is the best way to describe this. Century-old barbarian gets put into an alien spacesuit. Well, the spacesuit has an AI that he has this relationship with. The problem is that AI has started to malfunction and gets worse and worse and worse. And in here we see that those malfunctions aren't random. And it's a very dangerous situation he's having to deal with. The whole episode starts off in Paris with Eric walking around naked and borrowing a bottle of water from a French cafe because the suit's not working. That's how it starts. It is a really good story. And I've been kind of hit or miss on it as well. This gets me back into it again. This is really good.
Yeah, this was the episode where the issue where you saw where Dennis was headed.
Yeah.
He had kind of been leading you around, kind of, hey, look over there. Hey, look over there. Hey, look over there. And not had you not necessarily paying attention to where this book was going. And now he's like, hey, that's the direction.
Yeah.
And you can get on board. The thing that this felt like is it gave me a strong sense memory of the first time I rode the Magnum at Cedar Point, which is like one of the really tall roller coasters, and I'm scared to death of heights. The trick was to get me looking at all the stuff around rather than paying attention to how high the hill was. And right now we're at kind of the top of this hill, and you're like, oh, we're about to go down. This is about to get crazy.
Yep.
And you're kind of cresting that hill on a roller coaster that Dennis is going to take you on emotionally.
Yep. It's pretty hopeless at this point. By the way, Emilio Liazzo's art in this is wonderful. So definitely worth checking out.
Let's take a commercial break.
All right. Let you collect your thoughts.
We'll be back.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
We're back. My brain still isn't, but at least physically I'm here to click the buttons.
Normal.
The next book up is a book that existed a few years back and is now back in a new story from a different team. This is Ant #1 from the Image Comics.
Yeah, it's not really a team. It's Eric Larson.
Well, yeah, it's Eric Larson, but he has somebody else is working on it with him, and I can't think of who it is. Just as an editor. It'll come to me. He basically has a new editor on the book. It's still Eric Larson, but and I don't know. I can't imagine what Eric Larson needs edited. It's Eric Larson. So, but the Ant, who she is and how she came to be, Eric Larson takes a whole takes on a whole new wall crawler. Ant's epic adventure kicks off in this all-new origin issue, a new ongoing title by Eric Larson. Ant existed before.
Right. Mario Gully, I think his name.
Yep.
Creator, and Eric Larson has actually purchased the character from him.
Yep. And it's Eric had done a lot of work with Ant prior to this issue, and he's been kind of teasing that this is coming for a long time. So if you're familiar with that story, the guy who created it came up with it in prison, and started making the comics and telling the stories while incarcerated, came out, found a home for it, got Eric Larson involved, and it turned into something in the, what was it, the early 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah. Early 90s, late 90s.
Yeah. And it ended, and Eric has owned the character for a while now and has been playing with it and is finally ready to bring it out in a new incarnation. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No.
Okay. Because a Reckless book, Destroy All Monsters by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. This is a trade paperback by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
You had me at Brubaker and Phillips. Didn't even need the title.
Right. I wasn't going to say much else about it other than that it's a Reckless story by Brubaker and Phillips. Guys, if you're out there watching and you don't know about Reckless and you don't know about Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, buy a DeLorean, put a flux capacitor in it, drive it very, very fast, and pray that you can catch up.
You can get the flux capacitor from O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's listed on their website.
Yes, it is. The next book in the Red Hot Reckless series is here. Oh man, this book pushed every crime fiction button for me. Bliss, Patton Oswalt. Best-selling crime noir masters Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips bring us a new original graphic novel starring troublemaker for hire Ethan Reckless. It's 1988, and Ethan has been hired for the strangest case yet, finding the secrets of a Los Angeles real estate mogul. How hard could that be, right? But what starts as a deep dive into the life of a stranger will soon take a deadly turn, and Ethan will risk everything that still matters to him. Another smash hit from the award-winning creators of Reckless, Pulp, My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, Criminal, and Killer Be Killed. A must-have for all Brubaker and Phillips fans. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips getting together is the single greatest thing that ever happened to either one of them. And that includes probably their weddings and their children being born. These two guys, when they work together, create award-winning comics that just absolutely knock the socks and knock the snot out of anything else anybody else is doing. Just know that these are that good, especially if you're into true crime or any kind of crime noir. If you saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, this is that. If Tarantino wrote comics, this is that. Are there any other things I can say, Dan?
It's good.
Yeah. We haven't read it and we know it's good.
Yes, because it's Brubaker and Phillips.
Hawkeye number 1, Halloween special.
This is the final of the 4 books that are being offered. Again, 30 cents. But this one is really big to keep your eye on because Hawkeye is coming out. This character is going to be introduced in the new Hawkeye Disney Plus series next month. And this is introducing Kate Bishop. Says, remember Hawkeye? No, not that one. Our favorite Hawkeye, the chick who puts the hawk in Hawkeye, the butt-kicking hero who had to save the other Hawkeye's butt all the time. Yep, you know her. It's the dazzling Kate Bishop making her solo comic debut. Kate is heading west, returning to Los Angeles with her bow and arrow and PI badge in tow. There are crimes to solve, and she's the best archer to handle them. The City of Angels has a new guardian angel. The talented duo of Kelly Thompson and Leonardo Romero bring you a Kate Bishop like you've never seen her before in a brand new ongoing series that really hits the mark. Now, again, this is a reprint. There's another Hawkeye series coming out soon, also starring Kate Bishop. So you get this one for 30 cents. You find out if you're interested in the character, you know to jump in on the new series. Also, it's a good giveaway if you've got a young female reader or male reader. I'm not trying to be sexist here, but this is an interesting character. I still love the original Hawkeye, so it hurts me when they make all those comments about being the better Hawkeye. But it's a good series, and it's a great jumping on point again for 30 cents. Pick it up.
All right. There's one more Marvel book on our list.
Echo.
Yeah. We just got through a big series there in the Marvel Universe where we got to find out who got the Phoenix Force.
Yes.
As it turns out, it's someone who's going to be incredibly relevant in the MCU. Shocking. But now they're going to make her incredibly relevant in the comics as well. This is Phoenix Song Echo.
Right. This comes from superstar writer Rebecca Roanhouse and artist Luca Maresca. Against all odds, one of the most powerful entities in the Marvel Universe chose Maya Lopez, a deaf street fighter, as its new avatar. And the burning question on everyone's mind is, why? But Echo is the last person to answer. Still learning her new cosmic abilities and struggling with the Phoenix overwhelming personality, Echo strikes out to return to her roots. But the reservation has even fewer answers. And where power goes, evil follows. Someone wants Echo to fail and unleash a power only the greatest heroes in history have been able to control. This character, I did a whole deep dive on the character just last week because she's going to be big in the MCU. I went through a very convoluted history of this character, how she was basically created as kind of an Elektra clone for Daredevil, how she then became Ronin, went on to, at one point, be a stripper in LA as an undercover thing, and hooked up with Moon Knight. She's been all over the place. She has ties to Kingpin. She's a street-level hero / it was quite anti-hero for a while. And now she has one of the greatest powers in the cosmos. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they're going with this and what they're going to do with the character. Plus, she's going to be in like I said, the Hawkeye series coming out next month, played by Alaqua Cox, and then is supposed to get her own series, which will tie also into, if rumors are right, the Netflix Daredevil series. At least some of those characters are supposed to come over. So, big character coming up in both the MCU and in the comic line.
My software's behaving oddly. All right, let's okay, we have a Zenoscope, a DC, and a Dynamite left.
Okay.
Where do you want to head next, Dan?
Let's go with Dynamite. I am a fan of Purgatory. I've actually written a novel doing her origin story. It's a fun character with a much deeper history than people think. But there's doing a new #1. So this is the volume 2. They've done one other series. Ray Fox, Alvaro Saracica, and it kind of spins out of the Vampirella versus Purgatory series, which these two had just done. Now it's a solo follow-up for the Demon of Dark Humor, is what they say. Purgatory's really living the vampire demon life. She's got Lilith, nasty mindworm, eating her willpower. She's going bug nuts crazy, and now there's a bunch of witches targeting her with their weird body-snatching schemes. Clearly, it's time for some quiet, introspective, and careful planning, right? Get ready for bloody mayhem instead. This is basically when she drinks into someone's blood, she gets their mind and stuff inside as well, and she has to control it. And when she gets too many, she goes to this monastery where she meditates and starts trying to control and calm things down. And that's where this group of witches decide to attack her. So first issue, again, getting you set up into it, but it's a pretty trippy issue. Ray Fox does a good job at setting up the story. The art is really cool. There's a couple really nice covers. So if you were a Purgatory fan, pick it up. And if you want to know more about her origin, look for Purgatory Chaos Rising, the novel written by me.
Dan Wickline.
Yes.
Yes. Available from Dynamite Books.
Mm-hmm. You can get it on Amazon right now.
I was in a bookstore today,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided to go and look. And sure enough, there were several Dynamite books available on the shelf.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, I didn't buy any because I had already spent double my budget on the books I was buying anyway. Stupid hardcover trades. But I may or may not have bought 2 hardcover Marvel Masterworks today.
Nice.
Because I can't stop myself.
I picked up, and I mentioned this on my Facebook. I love the artist editions that IDW does, but they're kind of cost prohibitive at $100 some odd each. Well, they're now doing this line of artisan edition.
Yes.
And it's the same stuff. It's the same interior, the original interiors with the lettering and stuff, but they're at a much more reasonable price. And I picked this one up off Amazon at a big discount too. That's why I wanted to try it. There's not a lot of them out yet, but there's some really good stuff. There's this one. There's the David Mazzucchelli Daredevil. There's some Walt Simonson Thor. I
think they've announced that they're doing a Starlin.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're doing maybe it's a Steranko that they've announced. One of those two.
This is my new Christmas list. Whatever these artisan editions are out there, that's my new Christmas list.
Absolutely. So, let's go to let's end with Zenescope. Let's go to DC next, which is Refrigerator Full of Heads.
Which seems like a perfect for Halloween, right?
It does.
Rio Ewers and Tom Fowler. Hill House Comics is back, and heads are gonna roll for making readers wait. The new wave of titles begins with the Rancid return trip to Bloody Brody Island. For a year now, the mysterious axe that unleashed pandemonium during the hurricane of '83 has waited at the bottom of the bay, but nothing that powerful stays buried. Brody Island has new visitors, a new sheriff in town too, not to mention a dangerous great white shark spotted in the waters. And when vacationing couples Calvin Berenger and Arlene Fields find themselves on the wrong side of Brody's unsavory elements, their beachcombing will turn up something a lot sharper than sea glass. Crime novelist Rio Ewers joins forces with artist Tom Fowler to unleash a gonzo grindhouse expansion on the lore of the original Basket Full of Heads.
So, when you have a sentence that includes the words gonzo grindhouse, just know that I'm at the front of the line.
I like that,
or whatever that is.
I like that it's Brody Island and that there's a shark.
That's not at all coincidental. No.
That's an homage.
Yeah, and it's Rio Ewers, who, if you've never read Rio Ewers' novels, they're in that vein that Dan and I so often like to talk about, where it's pulpy. It's the kind of crime novels that you don't let your children read, in the movies.
Yeah.
It's dark, it's delicious, it's a lot of fun. So I like that Rio is writing these. I like that Joe Hill is overseeing them. And I like that the real Joe Hill is probably overseeing this Joe Hill, making sure they're good and creepy.
Yep.
That's a reference that not everyone will get, and I'm going to leave it there. So, moving on to our last book of the evening, unless Dan has something on his list we've missed.
Let me double check.
This is from our friends over at the Zenescope. This is Tales of Terror Quarterly 2021 Halloween Special.
There is one we missed, but
what did we miss?
Batman Secret Files Peacekeeper 01.
I don't see that anywhere on my written down list. I will get it right now.
All right. Tales of Terror Quarterly 2021 Halloween Special #1. I really need to talk to Dave about the unnecessary of having the #1 there. This is written by Jay Sandlin. We don't know who the artist is, but hey, at least we got a writer this time. Tales of Terror Halloween Special returns for another year in the oversized quarterly format, with tons of blood-dripping pages of horror-filled story. Join Karis, the goddess of death, as she brings her own brand of justice this year to those attending a haunted theme park during the height of the horror season. Don't miss these 3 new tales, sure to put you in a spooky mood and bring terror to the lives just in time for Halloween. Yeah. Oh, hey, Sean.
Yes.
Yeah. The Tales of Terror is a lot of fun. It's kind of what they wanted to do originally with Grimm Fairy Tales, but then they started building this universe around the fairy tales, and they lost the just telling horror stories. So that's what Tales of Terror is. And Karis kind of became the Sela for Tales for this series. I've written a couple. They're a lot of fun, and the Halloween specials are always just a joy to do because they really do pull out all the stops.
It's true. Zenoscope Halloween specials are the best Halloween specials. I'm not even going to go any further in elaboration on that. They are the best. All right. So the book I forgot, because I forget one every week, is Batman Fear State, Secret Files, Peacekeeper #1.
Yep. James Tinian IV again, Ed Bryson, and Joshua Hickson. This is picking up after the events of Fear State Alpha. You follow Sean Mahoney, a.k.a. Peacekeeper 1, in the wake of his exposure to the highly potential fear toxin at the hands of the Scarecrow. Now, dosed with terror and facing a lifetime of fear and insecurity, Mahoney has found himself frantically reflecting on his past as a GCPD officer and then as a prison guard at Arkham Asylum, all while desperately attempting to keep his mind from fracturing. Will Peacekeeper 1 give into fear or become terror incarnate? It's fun when they bring a new character into Gotham that has such an interesting connection. I love the fact that he used to be GCPD. He used to work at Arkham, so he's got that experience. And now he's decided to step up, you know?
Well, and they also bring him in just to mess with him.
Yeah.
Just to give Scarecrow a target. You know, I was thinking about this as I was looking at this solicitation earlier. Scarecrow in Sandman, the audiobook, is a very interesting look. Mm-hmm. Very interesting character. Scarecrow in the show Gotham was a very interesting character.
As was his dad.
As was his dad. Scarecrow, so often in the comic books, is meh.
Yeah.
Chuck Dixon had some fun with him. Some of those guys, Doug Mensch, some of those guys had some fun with him. I remember Scarecrow terrifying me as a child. Mm-hmm. But so often in the comics, Scarecrow is just he's not the Joker. So I like that that the fear toxin is the thing in this book.
Yep.
So, all right, that is our last book for this week.
Yay!
Yay! So join Dan tomorrow at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, as he talks about Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. Immediately following him is Comic Collectibles with Rex and the Notnicks.
Mm-hmm. I may pull Kyle in on the show to talk about his experience as a player. I'm going to get this pointy thing down right there.
Yeah, it's just opposite of what you expect to do.
QT phone home.
I was thinking, what is that painting? Anyway, and then on Thursday, Dan will be back at 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern with another show, which Dan and I will let you know what it is.
It might be an interview, or it might be talking about the Lost Symbol.
Lost Symbol, yes. Yeah. There are several options there, and we're talking about those as we go. And then just note time change on Thursday. So Dan will be 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. Jen King will be 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. And then we'll have an hour break followed by the new show, Kicking It with Henri. New sales show, 10 to midnight Eastern.
I have a question.
Hmm.
I've watched the commercial for Henri's show, and he talks about his book, how it's never been beaten in combat.
Mm-hmm.
And how exactly do books fight?
Actually, it's a reference to how Yi Sun Shin, General Shin, was never defeated in combat. Henri's book is and Henri does this better than I do, but Yi Sun Shin was an actual real person in Korean history. When Korea was attacked by Japan, General Shin was the leader of the Korean Navy. And despite being outmatched, he defeated the Japanese like 500 times. And then at one point he made his government mad and they stripped him of everything and gave him like the worst boat, and he still managed to beat the Japanese. So he is a legendary figure in Korean culture. And Henri writes a book about him.
Okay.
You should have Henri come on your show and tell you about his book.
He's welcome anytime.
All right.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up here, folks. Come back tomorrow. We'll have more fun. Remember, when you go to your comic shops, be nice about the image books. They may not be there. Look for your Halloween books. They're great to give out for Halloween instead of candy. As Joel pointed out, allergy-friendly Halloween giveaway. Mm-hmm. Have a great week.
Yes. And remember, the difference between your store staying open and your store closing is you spending $5. We'll see everybody next time.
Or 10. You can spend 10. It's okay.
Yeah, you can spend as much as you want. We'll see everybody next time here on New Stores This Week.